Hi everybody, I'm Adam Shapiro. Thank you for having me. Since this is pre-taped, I'm going to use a little bit of editing, a little movie magic. Terps! Theater, dance, and performance studies. Congratulations. I hope that you've picked up a few things while you've been here at Maryland. I know I did. And you may not know when you're going to use those. But when the time comes, and it will, you're going to be glad that you picked up a few things here. For example, I learned that in order to be successful booking commercials, you had needed to learn how to say the same line 15 different ways. And commercials, they paid all my bills for the first decade I was in Los Angeles. I also learned that when you get a big old paycheck for a gig, don't spend it all at once. That money is not just for the one day you worked on that gig. It's actually paying you for all of those days that you auditioned and you didn't get the job and you didn't make any money. I'm glad I learned that at Maryland when I got my first big check for my first big movie, The House Bunny, now available on HBO Max. Of course, I wanted to spend it all on Lakers tickets at dinner at Spago, but I didn't. I reminded myself that I hadn't worked for 9 months and I stashed it away. Like I said, you're not gonna be sure when you're gonna use any of these things, but when the time comes, my advice would be to stay ready instead of getting ready. Because with 8 days of rehearsals to learn the entire show of Waitress, coming 10 days after I got cast in Los Angeles, there was no time to get ready. So stay ready. See, I personally love this scavenger hunt that is this life. You know, the opportunity to pick and choose what to take with us. And you may not remember everything. You may not learn every lesson that was thrown your way. You may not make every contact at that event or become best friends with every single person you were in the movie with. Or maybe you just became best friends with them for 3 months while you were shooting the movie and then you never saw them ever again. And I'm looking at you, Kate Winslet. But if you could take just one person, one lesson, one story, one contact from every gig and every job, after years and years in the business, you will have developed a treasure trove of tools and ideas and people that you can draw upon when the time is ready. At Maryland, I chose to take with me everything I learned in my 3 years at SketchUp, which really paid off when you're on set and Mindy Kaling says, have fun with it, feel free to improv. I took my advisor, Scott Reese, and made him the mentor for the rest of my life. He officiated my wedding. Brought him with me. When I started I Am a Theater Company in Los Angeles 14 years ago, I relied on everything I learned during my time taking the required 479s. And you could be sure all that time learning how to sweep up the stage properly and hang lights and gobos and source fours and barn doors and running follow spot really paid off when I was starting my own company. I'll never forget the time I was tasked at removing a chandelier from the stage during the middle of the Provincetown One acts, only to have the table that I was standing upon collapse beneath me, leaving me hanging from the chandelier and swinging from stage right to stage left to stage right and stage left and stage right and stage left. It was Major's night, so I was rescued by a few of my fellow students and my fellow stagehand, Paige Hernandez. I actually thought it spiced up the show a little bit. But the learning won't and should not stop here when you leave Maryland. Be sure to keep picking up a few things as you go through all of your next experiences professionally. I took with me the time that I walked out of an audition for a pilot at Fox. The audition went pretty well, and after I left, I was walking down the hallway and the director poked his head out of the door. Now the director was Jason Weiner, the director of Modern Family, big old big shot. He pokes his head out and he says, Adam, come on. He goes, that was a good audition. I'm gonna bring you back to test for studio tomorrow, but not until after I call you to give you a note that I didn't want to give you in front of everybody in there. Because it's more of a life note than it is an acting note. I was like, whoa, okay. So he calls me that night and he goes, Adam, here's what I want to tell you. And don't take any offense to this, you are nerdy enough. And what I'm saying is don't play at it. Just come in and be you. And I guess what I'm saying is that you're enough. Not just for this role, not just for this show. You're enough to be in this audition. You're enough to be in this business. You need to start thinking of yourself as being enough. You're only gonna get cast as Adam Shapiro. You're not gonna get cast as playing somebody else. And the benefit to that is, if you don't get the job, at least everybody in that room knows who to bring you in for after because they know who you are and they know what you do. So I go into the audition the next day and I'm really nervous. I mean, this is not what I do. I layer up, but I do it. I'm just Adam Shapiro. I walk in there, the audition's great, everybody's laughing, it's awesome. Jason pokes his head out after the audition. gives me an emphatic thumbs up. He's like, yo, there's no chance of you getting this role. It already got offered to Andy Samberg and he's gonna take it, but who cares? And I'm like, what? I didn't get the, did I didn't get, it doesn't matter. What you gave yourself in there was a career. You didn't earn the gig, but you earned yourself a career. Keep doing that and you'll never stop working. You're enough. Took that with me. And it is true that it's not about the gig, it's about the career. It's about the long run, because it's your connections that will come through for you. Gigs are temporary, they come and go, but it is your reputation and your relationships that last. I did an obscure little indie comedy once called Larry Gay, Renegade Male Flight Attendant. Now, nobody saw this movie, but this one little movie might have been the most impactful thing I've ever done in Hollywood. You see, from this one movie, I made 3 relationships that really changed the course of my life. 1, Mark Forrestein, the lead. He and I became like besties. 2, Michael Royf, who produced the movie and also produced the movie of Waitress and then ended up producing the Broadway show Waitress, and that is who cast me in Waitress. And 3, Henry Winkler was in the movie, and Henry Winkler has been a mentor to me ever since. A few weeks after we got done shooting the movie, Henry invites myself and my wife Katie over to his house for dinner. We have this amazing dinner, it's super fun. After the dinner, we're sitting on the couch and he pulls me aside, he says, Adam, I've got good news for you and I have bad news for you. And I'm like, okay. And he says, the good news is you're good at the acting thing. And the bad news is you're good at the acting thing. And I'm like, what? I'm not picking up what you're putting down here, Fonz. And he told me that when you work forever in Hollywood, there are gonna be many, many times that are really, really quiet between jobs. You might go a year between jobs. You might go 2 years between jobs. I think he said he went like 20 years, but nobody wanted to see him in anything but the Fonz. And then all of a sudden he was in The Waterboy and now he's winning Emmys for Barry. So he said his most important advice to me was to find something that was fulfilling and gratifying that I could do in between the jobs during the lean times that has nothing to do with me being cast. And so I always thought about that. And then during the pandemic, I started this soft pretzel company that's kind of gone crazy. The first week I was selling the pretzels out of my driveway, and one of my first customers was Henry Winkler. And he came up to me and he ate the pretzels and he said, Adam, the pretzels are your thing. I've taken a little bit of wisdom away from every director I've worked with, and I've been really fortunate to work with some really great ones. Danny Boyle, David Fincher, the Wachowskis. And I'll never forget, Danny Boyle telling me that my personality and my energy on set was gonna get me hired more than my acting talent. Noted. I'll never forget the time David Fincher on Mank told an actor, don't tell me what the line means. The words proximity to each other already does that, just say the line. A lot of times when I'm a little confused and I don't know how to say a line, I just say the line. Tom Ford telling me that I need to over-prepare so that I can relax on the day. So if this address is one of the things in your life that you're gonna take one tiny thing from this with you, let it be that you are enough. You are enough to be an actor, a performer, a dancer, and those professions are not just worthy, they are essential. And when things are tough, remind yourself of why it is you love what you do and get back on stage. Start making art with friends. Create art for yourself. So, get ready. No, stay ready, because we need you. Congrats, class of 23.